Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a really incredible book, Amitav Ghosh's Gun Island. It's this wild story that starts with an ancient legend, but then explodes into this massive globe-trotting journey that lands us right in the middle of our planet's climate crisis.
So let's meet our main character, Dean. He's this pretty quiet, unassuming, rare book dealer living in Calcutta. But his entire life gets turned upside down when he travels to this remote shrine way out in the Sundarbans. You know, those huge mangrove forests in Bengal. And what he finds there? Well, it's a legend that's about to change everything for him.
So what's this legend all about? Well, the shrine tells the story of this mysterious figure, the gun merchant, who was on the run from the powerful goddess of snakes, Manasa Devi. And this is where it gets really interesting. This one question, who was this merchant, doesn't just send Dean on an adventure. It pulls us, the readers, right along with him into this huge global puzzle that somehow links a 17th century myth to the biggest problems we're facing today.
All right, to really get this legend, you first have to understand where it comes from. The whole thing kicks off in the Sundarbans. Now, the author, Amitav Ghosh, calls this place one of the absolute front lines of climate change. And believe me, this isn't just some scenic backdrop. The Sundarbans are a character in this story, a living, breathing force that shapes everything that happens.
What we see here is a world literally being unmade right before our eyes. The book talks about what happened after huge cyclones hit, how the salt water just rushed in, swamping places it had never touched. The farmland becomes useless, communities are just torn apart, and entire ways of life are just gone, wiped out.
I mean, think about it. When the land you live on can't feed you anymore, what do? Where do you go? For young characters in the book like Rafi and Tipu, there's just nothing left for them. It's not a choice. This environmental collapse triggers a human collapse, and it forces them off their land and onto this incredibly dangerous journey, just trying to survive.
Okay, so as Den starts to chase this legend, his journey takes him from the Sundarbans all the way to Los Angeles, and then to Venice. And along the way, he starts to notice something strange. All these weird events that are happening, they're not just random. He realizes they're all connected, part of some bigger, really unsettling pattern that's happening all over the world. And the book just lays it all out. You've got these insane wildfires tearing through LA. Then, a venomous spider that shouldn't even be in Italy suddenly shows up in Venice. You've got freak tornadoes, massive hailstorms, even huge groups of dolphins and whales beaching themselves. See, these aren't just random things happening to move the plot forward. They're all symptoms. Symptoms of a planet that is seriously out of whack.
This brings us to this really cool idea the book introduces, something called the environmental uncanny. You know that eerie, chilling feeling you get when you realize that all these bizarre, improbable things might actually be connected? That's it. Ghosh is basically saying that our reality, our facts, are now weirder than fiction. The world itself has become so strange that you couldn't even make this stuff up.
There's a line from a scientist in the book, a character named Pia, who studies dolphins, and she just nails it. She says, "No one knows where they belong anymore, neither humans nor animals." And wow, that just perfectly sums up this feeling of displacement, right? It's not just people, it's every living thing on the planet being pushed out of its home, its patterns disrupted.
So, this massive global disruption, it's not just an abstract idea. It has a real human cost. And this is where the story shifts gears a bit. It starts to follow that dangerous path that climate migrants, like the young man Rafi and Tipu, are forced to take as they try to find safety in Europe.
And the book does not pull any punches here. We get this raw, brutal look at what human trafficking is really like. It's described as an industry that's even bigger than the global drug trade. It's horrifying. People are beaten, crammed into these disgusting connection houses. They risk getting shot at borders or drowning at sea in these tiny, overcrowded boats. It's just a nightmare at every turn.
But here's the really devastating catch. We might use the term climate refugee, but the novel makes this crucial point. That phrase has zero legal meaning. Under international law, it doesn't exist. So these people are basically ghosts in the system, with no legal protection at all.
And because of this legal black hole, millions of people are forced into the shadows. They get to Europe and are treated with pure hostility, people calling them an invasion. But here's the crazy irony the book points out. These are the very people doing the backbreaking, essential work that keeps a lot of these cities afloat. Okay, so we've got all these bizarre, uncanny events on one hand, and this heartbreaking migrant crisis on the other. Now, the book brings us right back to where we started, that central mystery, the legend of the gun merchant. How on earth does all of this tie together?
You might think Gun Island means, an island with guns. But the answer is so much cleverer than that. It's not about weapons at all. The real truth is hidden in words, in their history. It's this amazing linguistic puzzle that Dean has to piece together with help from a historian in Venice named Cinta.
And here's the big reveal. It all comes down to a misunderstanding. For centuries, people thought the merchant's name, Banduki Sadagar, meant he sold guns, banduk in Bengali. But they were wrong. Banduki actually comes from Al-Bundukiya, which was the old Arabic name for Venice. The gun island from the legend, it was never an island with weapons. It was Venice this whole time.
And once you know that, the whole myth just clicks into place. It's a huge allegory. The merchant isn't just a guy. He represents humanity's endless, relentless drive for profit. And Manasa Devi, the snake goddess he's running from, she represents the planet, the powerful forces of nature. It's a story about the clash between profit and the planet, a story that's just as real today as it was hundreds of years ago.
So you might be asking, why go to all this trouble? Why connect a centuries-old myth to our modern-day crises? What is Amitav Ghosh really trying to tell us here?
Well, Ghosh has this idea he calls the Great Derangement. He's basically pointing out how weird it is that most serious novels just don't talk about climate change. He argues that traditional stories, the ones that stick to what's realistic and everyday, just can't capture the strangeness of our new reality. Gun Island is his attempt to fix that. It's his answer to the problem.
And what the novel suggests is that to really get what's happening to our world, one way of thinking isn't enough. You have to bring everything together. You need the hard science and data, which the character Paya represents. You need the deep understanding of history, which we get from Cinta. And you need that older, intuitive wisdom found in myths and folklore, which is what Dean discovers. It's only by weaving all those threads together that you can see the whole picture.
Ultimately, this is a call for a totally new kind of storytelling. We need stories that aren't afraid of the weird, the improbable, the uncanny, because that's the world we live in now. And here's the really mind-blowing idea. The spider in Venice, the beach dolphin, the migrant on a boat. Those aren't separate stories. They are all threads in the exact same story. And we need new narratives that are big enough and bold enough to show us that hidden web that connects everything.
And that's really the final, powerful question the book leaves hanging in the air. In a time of so much crisis, what kind of stories do we need the most? The answer it suggests is that maybe, just maybe, it's not just about more data or better policies. Maybe what we really need are stories that connect us again, connect us to our past, to the planet, and most importantly, to each other. Stories that make us feel, deep down, that we are all in this together, part of one single epic story that's still being written.